Red means we're live. So that's a good start, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to those who are out in the audience for us today. Today, we'll be talking about enterprise fixed wireless. The content or the topic for today is understanding the difference between cellular fixed wireless access and carrier grade wireless infrastructure. My name is Trey Willis, and I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Connectbase, and we'll be talking with three industry experts today about a wide variety of content associated with that topic there specifically. But our goal really is to help the audience understand, how does an enterprise buy connectivity faster, deploy faster, reduce risk, and enable trust along the way throughout this particular journey. So without further ado, let's talk. Let's get into the business here for what we're here to do today. So welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Connectivity has never been more critical to business operations, and yet enterprises today have more options than ever before. Fixed wireless has evolved far beyond its reputation as a niche or backup technology, and it's increasingly being deployed as a primary connectivity solution at the moment, a resilient strategy, and also a way to accelerate time to service. Today, we're joined by three industry leaders who are building and delivering these networks every day. We'll explore what enterprise fixed wireless really is, where it creates the most value, and how organizations should evaluate it, and where the market is headed next. So welcome to our guests today. I will do a brief introduction and ask them to say hi to the audience as well. We're joined by Shash Mohan from Sail Internet. We're joined by Benjamin Tansky from Natural Wireless, and we're joined by Alex Viox from Geolinks. Shash, if you would give us a brief introduction of who you are, what you do, and where you're from, and then we'll pass it to Benjamin and then to Alex, and we'll kick off from there.
Sure. Shashi Mohan, VP of Engineering at Sail Internet here. We're a regional ISP serving both residential and business customers in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Benjamin Tansky, Vice President of Channel Sales and Events at Natural Wireless. We do dual path dedicated fixed wireless fiber connectivity in Boston, New York, New Jersey, Miami, Philadelphia. Thank you for putting this together.
Of course. Thank you. Alex?
Yeah, good morning. Alex Viox, Director RF Technology and Planning, responsible for all of our new network builds and our license rollout. Geolinks is a regional connectivity provider serving California, Nevada, and Arizona.
Very good. Thank you all again. You can see we have an arrangement, an array of different types of backgrounds and contexts from a few different businesses here. So I'm excited about the conversation today. I think we'll get an excellent range of perspective here from the few different businesses and few different roles from these particular experts that we have today. So thank you all again for being with us. Let's start with kind of a basic context. We know that fixed wireless access has evolved significantly, and it's becoming more of a strategic enterprise connectivity option, as I shared quickly at the beginning. But just for starters, Alex, if you think about what is enterprise fixed wireless, many people hear that term and immediately think of something like 5G or cellular, something that consumers are more familiar with. What's the difference, if you will, between cellular-based and enterprise fixed wireless access? So just give us some perspective there just to get us started, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. We get that question a lot, especially out in the industry. 5G has a lot of different noise surrounding it right now. And the main difference is enterprise fixed wireless takes the best wireless dedicated connectivity and takes it off of the main carrier networks, right? So we provide either with an unlicensed and a licensed pathway directly to the consumer, right? So you don't have to compete with all the cellular handsets, don't have to compete with all their home internet and all the noise that cellular brings to the world. Or fixed wireless, we can give that person a dedicated connection that they're really looking for with the SLA and uptimes that come along with the enterprise requirements too.
Excellent. Good start there. As you think about the differences, that's a good setup there. Shash, as you think about what infrastructure powers enterprise fixed wireless, or perhaps reliability and performance improvements over the years, what would you add to that really differentiates the consumer concepts versus what we know to be true for enterprise fixed wireless access?
Yeah. So obviously with things like 5G, it's kind of a more of a shared technology, whereas typically when we're deploying fixed wireless access, we're kind of doing point-to-point connections, high bandwidth, high reliability, super low latency. Typically we're finding that the performance of fixed wireless for us, when we're deploying to business customers, often outperforms fiber, with little, when it comes to kind of things like latency, because we can provide up to 10 gigabits of connectivity, whereas obviously, if you're on a 5G, network or any other kind of shared, broadband style network, that's just not possible, right? So, we find that, increasingly, our customers, initially they might be kind of, a bit skeptical, after hearing all the kind of different, things about wireless, but once they've deployed it, we find that, they're very happy with the performance and the SLAs and things of that nature.
Yeah, good round out and augment to what Alex had to say. Benjamin, as we think about the same kind of frame up here, many people hear that term and think of one thing versus another. What misconceptions might you add to that buyers have about wireless connectivity today? What things might we want to open this dialogue with that we continue to play on that we really need to get clear? We really need to set the record straight for around fixed wireless access.
Natural wireless, we call it fixed wireless fiber. We do that for a specific reason, right? The characteristics of fixed wireless fiber are similar, if not better, than your traditional underground fiber. And just that terminology itself helps customers. Oh wow, yeah. Oh, it is a dedicated connection. It does have low latency and it's diverse. Let's get it. I mean, but to your specific question, the misconceptions are you have mobile carriers, you have your traditional mobile carriers like Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T. They call their product fixed wireless, which it's I don't want to get very technical. It's a glorified hotspot, right? It's another line item they can sell. It's not real fixed wireless. Our companies here, we do dedicated true path diversity, dedicated bandwidth, diverse connections, which is so important these days, and it's only going to exacerbate even more. And then low latency. The misconceptions are that people think that what we do is cellular based, and it's actually not. And like Shashi and Alex said, when customers plug in fixed wireless fiber, they're blown away with the speed. Symmetrical speeds, we do up to 20 gig dedicated symmetrical speeds. They're blown away how fast it is.
Yeah, great perspective there. I think that there's been an overwhelming theme in the first question here. The first topic is there's not only a misunderstanding on language, perhaps, on what one thing might mean versus another and how those compare. But the other thing I heard is comparison relative to the performance of the technology is often misunderstood. It's assumed to be one thing because perhaps there's similar language or synonymous kinds of things that are being said or shared, perhaps even inaccurately. But the performance and the delivery of such a service is often misunderstood. We talked about dedicated delivery, diverse delivery, performant delivery, and those assumptions are being made relative to a different experience. So a good start as we talk about how to differentiate what's misunderstood and what we want to continue to shed a light on today. Guys, as we think about evaluating technologies and providers, really thinking about what enterprises and channel partners and carrier relations teams look for when evaluating technologies. But we happen to know at Connectbase as we bring this two-sided marketplace together to enable transactions and what we're calling connectivity commerce. One of the biggest challenges buyers have is simply figuring out who serves the location. Before you can even compare providers, you have to know what exists in the market. And so that's one reason we surface fixed wireless providers alongside fiber providers and Connectbase. We have the choice of an access medium so you can pull those things back, not only by product, not only by term or speed, but also by access medium, and providers pull in likewise. So, as we think about what we should be looking at and evaluating technologies and providers, what are things to keep in mind? And I'll, Benjamin, I'll start with you here as you wrapped up the last one. What top 2 or 3 things that come to mind as you think about evaluating providers or service when we're looking to evaluate those technologies? What are the top few things you'd keep in mind or you'd recommend to our audience today?
is the fixed wireless fiber, is it a dedicated connection, right? I'm gonna go on a limb here and think and believe everyone understands what a dedicated connection is. It means symmetrical speeds. You have a service level agreement backing that. That it's path diverse. When I say path diverse, I mean it doesn't touch a nearby fiber building and traverse through the underground last mile infrastructure. It's diverse. It goes from the client endpoint to that hardened data center. Diversity and latency. Ultra low latency is actually more mission critical than it's ever been, ever. With AI tools right now, latency is mission number one, right? No more are you going to ever hear of a cold backup connection. And if anyone that has a cold backup connection, maybe it's time to reevaluate the network stack. It's an active design. Buyers should just understand that true circuit path diversity is more mission critical than it's ever been before. Companies that are rolling out cloud-based everything is cloud-based, right? Everything. And I'm going to go back for a second and touch on the 5G fixed wireless access, because what occurs here is a disservice. The price point is so attractive. Companies say, "Oh, why? I'll just get it." But when they actually really need the connection, when their underground last mile fails, it doesn't work, and it makes all of us here, makes our job even harder, because they're like, well, we had fixed wireless, it doesn't work well. So this panel, Connectbase does an amazing job of putting truth. I'll be very clear. It's truth. It's actual hard fact. So when a wholesaler or a channel partner looks in your system for fixed wireless, they know they're going to get fixed wireless. They're not going to get a 5G connection. And when I see it in your system, I'll call it out and I'll send an email to your team and say, I think, you should look at this and that. But, Connectbase, we've seen such tremendous growth with your system. We've been using you guys for many, many years. And I truly believe what you have is an exceptional product. And it helps the industry. Yeah, truly.
Yeah, thanks for that. We heard a couple of key items there on things to watch out for: dedicated and diverse. Very similar to what we talked about before. Some of these characteristic building things onto which we know the fixed wireless access really depends on to make it an enterprise grade kind of solution. Shosh, as you think about that, either augment what Benjamin said on things to look out for, or perhaps we take another angle and think about what should we watch out for to make sure that people don't say. What should we be looking out for that might be a red flag for us? Either one of those angles, maybe carry on the answer from Benjamin.
Yeah, I mean, so I would say, some things to look out for. So, so as Benjamin said, we need to make sure that where that fixed wireless connection kind of endpoints on the other end, is it going back to the data center or to a high capacity tower that actually has the bandwidth to fulfill, your requirements? How loaded is that? Is that location that the other end of the connection is going to? How many hops, is it? Because sometimes, sometimes we'll have, 2 or 3 kind of high capacity radios that'll take it back, but we make sure that everything is at the same, capacity level. And some carriers may kind of, have some capacity bottlenecks in between. And going back to kind of 5G, mentioning kind of like the whole, during an outage, you obviously don't want your wireless infrastructure to fail. And 5G has a problem where, if there's a connectivity outage in the local area, typically, that'll overload the cellular towers, and your bandwidth will lower even further, if you're using kind of a 5G, technology, whereas, a point-to-point, high capacity, fixed wireless connection, it won't have that problem, right? It'll be completely immune to that. You can typically go several kilometers, so you can kind of be outside of that immediate outage area. So you could be online while, your everyone around you who might be on fiber may be down, right? So there's a lot of, benefits, to that, but you got to make sure that the infrastructure is robust and that, every hop, from your building back to the provider's, main bandwidth source, is obviously hardened and high capacity.
Yeah, excellent point. You want to make sure that the commitments that are made actually can be brought to life.
Right.
Alex, as you think about augmenting those particular contexts, we talked about certain things to look out for. What are we really trying to make sure we're evaluating with technologies or providers. Shosh added to that and said, hey, there's some other things to watch out for. The promises need to come true. If you think about augmenting that, is there one or two other thoughts you'd like to share with our team here on
Yeah.
how to make sure we're evaluating the right way or thoroughly, if you will?
I would say don't fall into the speed trap, right? I think nowadays a lot of people go out and just say, I need this speed, and don't think about all the other pieces that go into the network, right? They're talking about the resiliency, the backup connections, the backup circuits, the UPSs, the tower overloading, all these things in the background that I think a lot of the wireless providers on the fixed wireless side go into thinking about the resiliency, diversity, right? Whereas some of the fiber providers, right, you have one connection that goes there, and fiber cuts happen all the time, right? So don't fall into the speed trap of I need that 1 gig symmetrical or 500 meg symmetrical, right? Take the holistic approach when going out and trying to source providers, right? Because all these different options are in there. And that's one thing at Geolinks we're really trying to educate a lot of our partners on is, right, okay, when somebody goes and wants to get a circuit from us, right, what are their needs? What are their desires? I think Benjamin said it perfectly, right? Backup is no longer just backup. It's active standby, it's active active, it's different diverse paths that people want to use on a moment's notice, and going into different traffic types, right? They might want to send a certain traffic type over a diverse path specifically, or might have to go over a different path. So all these different pieces are coming into play once people go and ask for service these days. It's not just speed. It's not just speed.
Yeah, great follow up and great wrap up there. Shosh, I'll send you the next question here in a second. But as we think about what we've just learned here, we're talking about things like the qualification process, making sure that we really think about diversity goals, bandwidth requirements, not just a flash line on the best speed that we can offer in that particular sense. And really what I heard most of all is cost of value, a real opportunity here of we've said a couple times, and we'll continue to prove that here in a second throughout the course of this webinar, but we've said fixed wireless access is on par with all the other technologies that are out there. And as a matter of fact, there are other advantages of fixed wireless access. And so as we think about going to Josh for this next piece, think about where fixed wireless wins. So the strongest enterprise use cases for that dedicated wireless concept that we've been talking about a lot today, what are the strongest enterprise use cases there? I'll just open it up pretty openly to Shosh. When you hear a question like, what are the strongest enterprise use cases today for fixed wireless, what would you say?
Well, I mean, so fixed wireless provides, a number of benefits, right? So like over fiber, say, so for example, obviously, speed of install, we can typically get a fixed wireless connection up within just a few days. The resiliency aspect, so based on the fact that the connection goes, 2, 3, 4 kilometers away. Like I said earlier, you're kind of outside of that, immediate outage area, which may affect cellular towers, may affect, obviously fiber, and any other kind of broadband technology that's more local to you. We have so during it, and also during outages, we have UPS backup on typically every hop, including the hop within your own building. We'll typically install UPSs there as well. So, you could be kind of online, still operating if you have a little kind of data closet within your building, or your users on laptops, they'll continue, getting their internet connectivity while everyone else may be down. And also, if something, obviously equipment can fail, out there, we can typically fix it within, hours. Whereas, if it was a fiber cut or something like that, it can be several days, right, that you're out. So, we've saved, countless customers, in those kinds of situations, especially during kind of, adverse, whether it's, when temperatures rise, there's kind of a, fiber closet failures all over the place, and we're typically relatively immune to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like that's a current challenge. Temperatures are certainly rising in a wide variety of places around the world. Yeah. So we've heard about, where a couple of somewhat generic examples, if you will, on how wireless solved the connectivity challenge that a traditional option couldn't, or a resilience challenge that perhaps a wireless option avoided. Alex, as you think about where fixed wireless wins, are there any stories that come to mind where wireless was clearly a better answer than a traditional kind of delivery that our other customers here might think about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it goes into the types of locations too, right? So we've been getting a lot of these small communities and HOAs actually who come to us and are like, hey, we have this whole community that's been overlooked in the fiber build or cable upgrades, right? It's been difficult to go in and do the engineering, or cost prohibitive. So they come to us and say, hey, we want to connect every location that we want to have in our small town or HOA community or something like that. And we can get something up, as Sash was saying, pretty quickly, right? You know, we go and design it. We can cover the area. We can hit multitude of different options from different tower locations, or even a hybrid infrastructure, right? Where we can bring in fiber to a central location and then distribute it from there. And even in some cases, enhancing the cellular connection, where these communities have been overlooked for cellular too. So it's kind of a hybrid network, bringing the fiber, the wireless, the cellular all together in those types of environments, which has been a very big win for us, right? For these overlooked communities from the perspective. I think people have historically thought of rural, but this is becoming more and more suburban and urban, right? Because as these pockets have been overlooked, there's a lot of urban areas that people are discovering that just haven't gotten fiber, especially in California, where it's been super cost prohibitive to go and dig up all the streets and trench and get all the permits and zoning and everything, right? So fixed wireless in that case has been very, very, very beneficial to these smaller communities.
Yeah, great example. I'm talking from a technology perspective. That's my life, right? As a CTO, but there is a conception or perception here that it's hard to reach places. Well, hard to reach places aren't just far away, right? Aren't just non-central locations. Sometimes there are zoning issues or density issues or just sheer speed to deliver opportunities that fixed wireless changes, is what I'm hearing you say there. And I think that's a really unique way for us to change the dynamic as we think about a more complete or more robust understanding of fixed wireless and how it differentiates. Really neat story there. Benjamin, as you think about where wireless can outperform fiber from perhaps a deployment or business perspective, either of those angles come to mind for you as something to share with our audience today, where fixed wireless wins more frequently in a use case or a story or two?
Totally. And I just want to circle back from the beginning when you asked Shashi. So, what businesses benefit from fixed wireless fiber? Any business that relies on their connectivity for day-to-day operations, any business that uses the internet, is it revenue infrastructure? That is a fixed wireless fiber customer. Period. End of story. Like, think about it logically. If you have a last mile distribution center, you're sending out 50,000 packages every hour. And if your fiber goes down, your underground fiber or your fiber on a utility pole goes down, but you thought you had two fibers and they somehow both went down, you had the illusion of diversity. You had you had redundancy. You didn't have diversity. And it's so important. And customers are so much better these days because they've all been burned. They're paying for two connections that are on the same utility pole, or maybe a different fiber strand in the same manhole and the same underground conduit. So businesses that can benefit from this are enterprise businesses, federal, state, local, bodegas. Bodegas. I'm from Canada originally, so dépanneurs. I mean, you have credit card processing. What happens if the connectivity goes down? No credit card processing. Last mile logistics facilities. No shipping out. Live stream broadcasts. Like, customers learn the hard way. Three of us, we've all been in the weeds. We get the phone call. We need service tomorrow. We need service in 2 hours. And when that happens, it's unfortunate, but it's an opportunity for the customer to understand that they were paying for a service they actually were not receiving. They were getting redundancy and not diversity. And a great point a great answer to your question you just asked was, I'll give you an example. There's an enterprise customer, right, in a big metropolitan city. They had three separate underground fiber connections. Huge customer, right? All of a sudden, I get a call at 8 p.m. at night. Hey, Ben, we're ready to move forward. I was going after this customer for 3 years. Oh, Ben, we're fine. We have redundancy. I'm like, that's great, but you don't have diversity. Oh, we're good. We have 3 different fiber providers. Okay, we're ready to move forward. I'm like, okay, no problem. I'll call you first thing in the morning. We'll send the paperwork out. No, you misunderstand. We're ready to move forward right now. I was like, okay. I'm like, honey, I'm going upstairs. I got to work for a little bit. 3 hours later, I was on the phone with our engineering team, our deployment team, our business office. This was a Fortune 500 company, enterprise customer. We went through approvals with the CIO, the CTO, the finance director, the general manager. Everything was approved. And we set up a BGP session after we deployed the service, because that takes a little longer. But now this is a customer that fundamentally understands the difference, that redundancy, it's a cute word, but it's not going to give that company, that business, the resilience they need to remain online. What's the cost of downtime? It's in the thousands per hour, right? And if you have a huge enterprise, hundreds of thousands of dollars per hour. So when I say that us four here are doing our jobs of educating, we just have to educate and get rid of that noise from the mobile operators selling their product as fixed wireless. And it drives me absolutely crazy, because they're doing a disservice. This technology that we have is amazing. Amazing. I've been with the company for 14 years, and I truly believe in this. And I believe that this is the next evolution. It's faster to deploy. It has the same characteristics, same speed, symmetrical speed, service level agreement, ultra low latency. It's a fraction of the cost to install. Timing wise, like same day install you can do. I've done same day installs when it's an emergency. So I hope I answered that your one question. Sorry, Trent.
Oh, you did. No, you did great. I mean, stories are gold, guys. I mean, that helps us to relate to what's real in space,
Yeah.
not just language, not just a pitch, not just a marketing ploy. Your story is telling the truth. It's something you've lived. It's something you helped to experience. And when you talk about the urgency that you were able to react with, you've just demonstrated some of the things we talked about: speed to deploy, resilience, performance. All of those things matter. We said those things. You put it into real context. You had a customer that thought they were protected, thought they had a good design, and perhaps it was fine, but it couldn't beat the solution of the delivery that the enterprise fixed wireless access offered. And you demonstrated that through an analogy. And I think that those anecdotes. I'm sorry, anecdote. They're critical for us. They're great. They're great for us to help understand the reality of what we're talking about from a technology standpoint. Let's slide into the next angle here. Before we do that, I wanted to remind the audience, I didn't set us up well for this at the beginning, but if you happen to have questions that you'd like us to answer or try to answer now or shortly thereafter, depending on how the timing goes here, we'll take those. There's a Q&A section in the webinar here. Feel free to type in or share a question there. If we have a moment, we'll pull some of those out and maybe we'll field some of those along the way. We've got a good bit of context to start, but we'll take a look at those likewise. So feel free to share those in the Q&A section. As we think about moving on to next topic and kind of sliding down into what's next, I want to talk a little bit about performance, things like performance, reliability, and diversity. You know, Benjamin really set us up well for that in his anecdote that he just shared. We've talked about where what is enterprise fixed wireless access, how to evaluate the technologies and providers there. So we've touched on those topics. We even just finished talking most about where fixed wireless wins. We even used a few stories to help highlight that. Let's talk a little bit more about how to prioritize some of these decisions. So enterprise buyers often prioritize uptime and SLAs. And Alex reminded us, oftentimes they prioritize speed too. Don't fall into the speed trap, as he warned us. How does fixed wireless meet those requirements for performance, reliability, diversity in any kind of way? Alex, if you think about getting us started here, any of the questions come to mind. How do we deliver low latency? How do buyers think about SLAs, for example, for fixed wireless? How do we increasingly use this for trusted or true last mile diversity? Any of those kind of answers that really pull on some of the topics we've talked about a moment ago. How do enterprise buyers think about fixed wireless meeting those kinds of business or enterprise requirements?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest one is people think about this technology as being, magic or years behind. Where I think Benjamin talked about earlier is that the fixed wireless community has actually accelerated tremendously over the past couple of years, and I think has outpaced fiber connectivity and especially cable connectivity and how we can deliver those, right? So making sure that we have availability to customers at a wide range, right? We don't just segment based on neighborhoods, we cover a whole large areas, right? Having that ability to put dedicated equipment at a customer location where it's dedicated to that specific customer, right? We're not sharing it amongst different cable upstreams, different fiber ponds, right? It is dedicated to that customer with backhaul and transport diversity and resiliency to go along with it, right? Utilizing licensed frequencies, right? That is specific just for the specific area that we're going for. We don't have to contend with the unlicensed, the Wi-Fi, the 60 gigahertz, all that type of stuff that is shared, the cellular carriers share and all their stuff as well, right? We dedicate as much as we can from the hardware to the frequencies, to the licensed spectrum, to the specific transport, even go into the network layer, right? To make sure that our customers have the dedicated, resilient, diverse experience that they are requiring from us, right? Yeah, that does require some hardware at a customer's location, right? But is there so the customer has that dedicated experience and it is not for a shared environment.
Yeah, good start. Shash, pick that up if you would, and I'm going to feed in some of the questions that have come just to make sure that we're all on the same page as to delivery, if you will. Maybe in the simplest terms there, Alex gave us good context on the specific requirements, the dedicated delivery, and the actual design that goes into that. Maybe help our audience just level set real quick before we take it one step further. How do we actually deliver the connectivity in the simplest sense that our audience might understand? And so are there things like line of sight restrictions? Are there distance limitations or things like that to consider? Or perhaps how do we deal with those? How do we evaluate them? How do we overcome them? Or how does an enterprise buyer think to consider those if they haven't had experience here yet?
Yeah, so in terms of the actual delivery, we'll go on site. We'll typically do a site survey. We're looking. Obviously, line of sight is a consideration, right, for our high capacity radios. They need to have line of sight to the next hop. Typically, with our diverse network and our kind of footprint, we'll typically be able to see one of our towers or hops, from almost any building within our service area. But even if we can't, we'll typically go out and look to see if we can add additional hops, nearby. We can add, we can essentially create what we call a tower. So where we may deliver fiber, say, 3 kilometers away, and then hop to that if we need to. So that gets around things like, as mentioned earlier, if you were to go to say, a big fiber provider, they'll have build out costs. It'll take months to do, whereas we can still kind of complete all that in a very short period of time. And then, so typically, once the radio's, in place and we have the radio shot kind of hitting the opposite end and the circuit is up, we'll then have 24/7 monitoring from our network operations center, to ensure that all the metrics are being hit. We typically see sub kind of 2 millisecond latencies across radios, sometimes better than that. And then we have obviously UPSs in place. We run fiber from the roof down to the whichever location the customer desires, where we'll install our switch equipment, which typically for us, we use a kind of enterprise class hardware, so we'll be using Cisco, Juniper, Arista, those kinds of vendors, to provide that handoff port, and we then hand off to the customer on whether they want copper or more commonly nowadays, with living on single mode fiber, straight off the switch. So so it's a pretty straightforward install. Site survey, it doesn't take, usually we're out there for about an hour or two, depending on the size of the property and how we need to run the cables within the property, but we handle all of that right to the handoff.
Great, very good, thank you. Yeah, good baseline for us to understand and kind of continue to carry on, not just the concepts around how do we meet those enterprise requirements, but really just foundationally, technologically, there are some questions around what is it? What is the delivery really experience like? And how do we back, really from a sales perspective or a wholesale sales perspective, how do we back that up? How do we make sure we're saying the right things and helping our customers to understand that perspective? Benjamin, when you think about things like understanding SLAs around these things, or how do we back up the commitments that our enterprise customers need to make? You've shared some of this in your anecdote and some of this through other answers. But what should we expect anything different from a fixed wireless SLA than we might from a fiber backed service otherwise?
That's a good question. Going back to the performance and you're asking about the SLA, the service level agreements, with natural wireless, with our fixed wireless fiber product, We have links going. We have a unique network infrastructure where we actually bring in two separate path diverse connections for every customer, and each one of those connections goes back to a different data center. And then between those connections, you have automatic real-time failover. We can achieve that because we have a robust infrastructure in the cities that we service. Um, Performance-wise, we guarantee, I mean, what's guaranteed in life? Death and taxes, right? But our service level agreement says we guarantee less than 15 millisecond round trip latency to the internet edge. For all the technical weenies on the call, they'll understand that. Within our network itself, our core network, you're looking at 0 to maybe 1 millisecond within our network, and that's with multiple hops. So it's nominal. You'll never experience any issues with that. Another really important fact is that Natural Wireless, in all of the markets we service, we work with a peering exchange. We're on a peering fabric. I'm getting a little technical here, but a peering exchange essentially has direct interconnects to your content providers like Amazon, Netflix, Google, Facebook, whoever else you stream to. What that means is that the experience our business customers have on our network infrastructure is so phenomenal. I was going to say something else, but I didn't. But it's amazing because the traffic that our customers have, it doesn't touch the internet. It stays local. We're in the hardened data centers. We're on the peering exchange. We're on that's called the peering fabric. So the user experience, you hit enter on your keyboard, boom, you want to upload your cloud file. You want to go to your Microsoft Azure. You want to go to your Facebook, whatever you're doing, your Gemini system. The user experience is amazing. Low latency, true path diversity, and dedicated bandwidth. I mean, that is the differentiator between, going back to the beginning, 5G fixed wireless. 5G fixed wireless, it does not have dedicated bandwidth. It does not have true diversity. It does not have low latency. The true fixed wireless does, and it's really important. And customers are more savvy, right? They'll buy the product. Like I said before, they'll buy a 5G product, and when there's a fiber outage, they're relying on this connection that was sold to them, and it doesn't work. And they'll do their own investigating. They'll open up a ChatGPT, a Claude window, and say, give me a connection that's diverse. And the first thing that pops up is one of our companies here on this call, all right? Reliability, Natural Wireless, every piece of hardware we have in the field pings back to our network operations center every 30 seconds with a health check. So we proactively monitor and manage the network. So if there's a hiccup, if there's a power issue, if someone unplugs something, we're notified. And in exchange, we contact the customer before they even realize what's up. Because again, we have two separate connections going into that customer. So they're blown away, by, hey, how did you know that I unplugged power up there? I mean, it's I don't want to get too sidetracked here. I hit the SLA question, the reliability and the performance. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you got it. I think you highlighted one element. You said, hey, what's guaranteed? But I would say you don't have SLAs as a business unless you have objective proof that you can meet those commitments, right? Those are commitments that your business is, it's not just recommending, you're standing behind. And Correct. You're supporting those through really a couple of things. One is that objective evidence that we talked about. Your service delivers the performance that you commit to. And the second one you talked about, which is just as important to me as a technologist, is you built for that diversity and that performance by design. That was completely part of the path and part of the delivery here, which is important to understand. It's not incidental. We didn't just happen to run into these resilient connections or these path diversities, if you will. That's part of the design that these fixed wireless deliveries are really going in with. And so they're really, even in some senses, safer or more diverse than other deliveries, which we've heard a couple of times throughout this delivery. So I think you hit it well.
Yeah, I mean, more than 80% of our customers use our fixed wireless fiber as the primary connection. They plug in, they're like, why haven't I been using this in the past?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, good context. Shosh, just creating a little bit of debate here for a second as we kind of round out the end of this particular topic. But thinking about, even some of the questions that we have here and some of the setup that we had at the beginning, perhaps the elephant in the room. Many enterprise buyers still hear this concept of wireless and think unreliable or uncertain or not guaranteed, for example. Why are they wrong? In a sentence or three, why are they wrong?
Yeah, well, I think because they're essentially, there are so many products in the market that call themselves wireless, right? And for the most part, the kind of experience that most people have when it comes to wireless is home Wi-Fi, it's cellular, it's essentially these shared technologies, and even sometimes when they have a wireless provider like a WISP or something, that's still on a broadband service, right? It's a essentially it's a glorified large wireless home wireless network, but kind of outside, right? So you'll have a single AP and you'll have lots of radios talking to it, right? And performance will always be poor on those kind of technologies, but what we're talking about here, when we're talking about fixed wireless access, and we're talking about, as Benjamin says, wireless fiber, fixed wireless fiber, effectively, essentially it's a point-to-point connection. It's proven technology. I mean, even now, funnily enough, trading platforms now use fixed wireless, because they are super low latency over a long distance, right? And people always think about, well, how could it compete with fiber? Well, think about like even just going into the physics of it, right? I mean, the speed of light through glass is like 60%, whereas the speed of light through air is like 90 something percent, right? It can compete, because essentially, it's a proven technology that provides we have empirical evidence that provides the low latency, the high reliability. We have radios that have been running for years, without any issues, right? They don't go down, and those customers just never notice any issues, even if there are local fiber cuts or whatever, right? So definitely, I think the perception gets warped around the whole 5G. Obviously you got these large companies with large marketing budgets pushing the stuff, and they'll always tell you the top line number, right? They'll say, oh, 5G can do several gigabits or whatever, but in reality that never really happens because it's a shared technology. It depends on how many other thousands of people around you are using it. So it's a very different technology, and that's kind of where we need to change the conversation.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Alex, as you think about, the same kind of concept, or clearly there's confusion, maybe there's a lack of understanding or just a lack of experience to continue to do that kind of word of mouth distribution or repeat kind of customer installation, their lack of proven experience, if you will, but also clearly the assets that are used to deliver this kind of technology are durable. We've said that in a variety of different ways. The design is durable by design. Is there anything that comes to mind for you, thinking about flipping it in the inverse? Are there any workloads that should not run on fixed wireless today? Anything that comes to mind that's not a good fit, just to create trust and transparency amongst this group? Anything that comes to mind like that, or are we beyond that perhaps, and the design is well suited for a variety of workloads that you see?
I would say for most enterprise workloads, fixed wireless is a perfect solution. I say
Great.
when you start getting into like, the massive data centers, which require terabits per second types of solutions, that's a whole different class of service. And we've even had conversations with some of those data center solutions to not provide the terabit type of solutions, right? But to provide that resilient, diverse connection, right? If a fiber cut goes down, then some of their basic communication can still reside, right? So even in the high throughput, super high throughput, high capacity environments, there is still a place for fixed wireless service, right? Yeah. It's not an either or. It goes back to that having a holistic solution that can utilize the best of breed of all the different technologies.
I love that. Yeah. So one, specialized delivery of anything always requires specialized attention, right? So data center delivery is unique for all of us, right? When you start talking about terabit delivery, specialized equipment, specialized kind of operational monitoring, and a variety of things there. So that's unique in general. But what I heard you say is no, not generally speaking. You should be in the conversation. We should be evaluating the delivery. And if you think resilience, diversity, delivery, low latency and performance are critical items, we all do as enterprise buyers, then I think fixed wireless access is in the game, period. And the only things that will rule that out are unique edge requirements, which we'll discover during the survey or during the requirements understanding and things like that. So solid response and easy to understand. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And even like the fixed wireless can even serve and provide the edge cases that, the fiber or cable stuff can't do. Right. So it kind of goes back and forth, right? Of which edge cases work better for which type of solution.
Yeah, maybe even better in many cases, which we've identified today, right? That's a great way to think about that too.
Anytime anyone's asking for a dedicated connection, that is a fixed wireless fiber opportunity. Anytime. Anytime. I mean, unless you're talking massive terabits, but I mean, how many times do you get those in a year? Once,
Right.
twice, maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
just as an example here, if you look at the power grid in this country, you ever wonder why the power company has so many fixed wireless links? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because it's a diverse connection directly into their power facilities. If the fiber were to go down, they can't control. They have dark fiber traversing this whole country. If the fiber were to go down, they can't control the power. Guess what? They already know the only true diversity is with microwave fixed wireless access, and they've been using it for years. And I mean, we can get into the discussion of high frequency trading and why financial institutions make trillions of dollars using zero error correction fixed wireless access, but that's a topic for another discussion. This fixed wireless is such a proven and tested environment that mobile network operators are so threatened by it. They came out and said, hey, we have 5G fixed wireless, which is a complete, going back to the beginning, it does such a disservice to business customers. Yeah. Every customer that has a dedicated connection, that's shopping for a dedicated connection, is a fixed wireless opportunity.
That's a great point. And starting to wind down here, I think that's a nice way to segue into our last bit. This is for the audience, last call for any questions, anything we haven't talked on, anything you want a little bit more depth on, feel free to share those now. We've got just under 10 minutes left, and we'll start to wind down with our last topic here. So thinking about how we see enterprise fixed wireless evolve over the next 3 to 5 years, what's the future outlook? And so, I'll just kind of give you guys a chance to button up what you think we should be taking away from today, and then we'll aim to close. We get, like I said, a little bit less than 10 minutes, so a few minutes each. But as you think about things like, we talked about deployment timelines, we talked about the process for deployment, we talked about how organizations should think about wireless as part of a multi-provider strategy, perhaps. But as we think about the evolution, the future state, what's changing as we continue to work to educate, like we're doing here today, as one of those steps, as the technologies continue to improve and lines get blurry, frankly, both from a language perspective and a technology perspective. Benjamin, I'll start with you as you think about starting to wrap us up here. I'll give you one more before the end of this, but what's your future outlook? What is the evolution over the next handful of years, 3 to 5-ish years in your mind?
I mean, we've seen since the pandemic, since 2020, businesses have migrated to the cloud tenfold, 100-fold, right? What has that done? What has that done to the infrastructure in the country? Well, it's kind of highlighted where people are full of it and where people are actually delivering what they say they're going to deliver, right? So cloud applications right now, in the past since 2020 have accelerated at hyperspeed. Now you throw in AI applications, video collaborations, we'll tie that to the cloud, right? These few, real-time communication, they have zero appetite for what do you call jitter or high latency, or asymmetrical speeds over a coax connection. And the fact that internet providers are still saying that coax is a great solution, it baffles me. Just upgrade it the last mile to fiber. Why are you killing it with DOCSIS XXX? Just change that last mile to fiber. Stop throwing good money at coax. Yes, the revenue and the profits are great, but it's not giving this country what it needs. It needs to be ahead of everybody. And our products, our fixed wireless products, are positioned for that. It's unfortunate that cable didn't migrate to fiber, but it's a win for us here on the call. The evolution is, it's going to be in the network stack. Enterprises are way more comfortable with fixed wireless fiber than 14 years ago when I started. No, they thought it was cellular. They thought it was Wi-Fi. Now customers call us. They call us and say, can you deliver your dual path fixed wireless fiber? We heard about it. So-and-so told us about it, right? The future is true path diversity with dedicated low latency connections.
Alex, future outlook?
So I kind of break it down into three different aspects, right? You have how the customers view it, how the technology evolves, and how it's actually deployed, right? So from how the customers are using it, right, it's going to become way more commonplace. I think today people look at fixed wireless as being like, oh, the other option. I think more and more as you just drive around, the Bay Area, Los Angeles, Vegas, you see way more fixed wireless equipment out there, which that itself is just proving the validity of it, right? So as it becomes more commonplace, it's no longer the redheaded stepchild or the separate the other option, right? It's becoming the primary solution for a lot of folks that is going in for the first case, right? I want fixed wireless, right? I don't even want to consider something else. What is available there? I want to see that type of service. Then from the technology perspective, we're able to combine many different solutions and stuff now to create that very resilient hybrid network, right? To be able to provide the resiliency, the high level speeds. We have way more and more technology coming out with the higher different standards and new chips and everything that's coming out to be able to supply that higher throughputs, right? Above the 1 gig symmetrical speeds. And then you have from deployment, right? Densify, right? Just the cellular world did from 1G to 2G to 3G to 4G. Fixed wireless itself is coming through that densification opportunity too, right? As we densify, we can then support way more customers, be able to get where people are using it. As these different requests come in, it's able to show, okay, these are the areas that we can go focus on, add the infrastructure, add the resilient transport, add the towers to be able to support all of that, right? So from the deployment, the technological advancements, and just becoming more commonplace, it's kind of setting up for a perfect storm of opportunity for all the fixed wireless providers.
Yeah, continued evolution is what I hear there. I mean, I talked about the future outlook, but you talked about multiple layers of evolution, technological, commercial, customer awareness, and information in that context, all super meaningful things. Shosh, you have any other thoughts on future outlook to augment or to change or even to support what one of the other gentlemen said?
Yeah, I think people need to kind of understand that. I mean, fixed wireless, the point-to-point fixed wireless that we're talking about is it's mature already, right? So it's not something that we're waiting for an evolution or we're waiting for anything like that, right? It is mature. It's now iterative. We're up to 20 gigs on a single radio. In the radios that we're using, we can do up to 20 gigabits symmetrical on a single radio. That is only going to get better, right? So that's where I see over the next 3 to 5 years we're going to get that higher performance. Our latencies are already super low. Most of our links, point to point are sub millisecond. So they're already I think kind of there with that. And then also I think what people need to kind of start changing their mindset around is that like almost 100% of our network, of our fixed wireless network is urban. It's not rural, right?
Yeah.
Everyone keeps thinking, oh, this is just rural. I mean, we have fixed wireless in San Francisco, right? We have it in San Jose. We have it in across the Bay Area in these large dense areas where people always think, oh well, no, that's not a wireless or fixed wireless point to point area. It is. That's and obviously more and more enterprises are realizing that the benefits of that, right? So I mean, I would say, the main thing is, it's iterative, but the biggest problem, I guess, and hopefully will be solved over the next, 3 to 5 years, is that awareness aspect, educating. I mean, we spend a lot of time in our marketing kind of drawing up diagrams and stuff to kind of show people how it works and how it compares to fiber, right?
And that's the hardest thing to do. It's the hardest thing to do is show people how it works. I mean, sorry to interrupt, but like that's the education is so important and it's so difficult to do that.
Yeah. So I think
great. No, great correlation there, guys. So I think as we think about wrapping up here, I've heard a variety of things. We talked about enterprise fixed wireless is fundamentally different than 5G. Let's not confuse those particular things. And that's one of the core themes here is consumer market business understanding of the technologies and how we can deliver enterprise grade solutions without a question with fixed wireless. Wireless certainly is not just a backup or diversity solution anymore. It's absolutely a primary solution. And we've talked about a number of anecdotes that delivered that mechanism. Modern fixed wireless does deliver that enterprise grade performance and service level agreement. And it seems like the best connectivity strategies still continue to think about a diverse design, with fixed wireless just as easily being the primary delivery as others, but that diverse or resilient kind of design is still critically important for enterprise delivery, so we minimize or reduce downtime completely. As we think about wrapping up, I'll say a few things. The first thing is we have recorded this session. We will share this session with the attendees with contact information for the panelists. So we have a couple of other questions like pricing or speed to delivery, those things that are buying oriented decisions. We'll have a way to reach out to the panelists to talk about that, and we'll share that in a forward manner. I want to take a moment just to thank our three panelists, Shosh, Benjamin, Alex. You guys are fantastic today. Clearly, enterprise experts in the game, understanding the dynamic in the enterprise, in the market itself. And you understand that the hurdles are no longer technological. They're mostly about market understanding and market experience in that way. So thank you three for participating in that way. Thank you to the audience here as well. So as we wrap up, we've talked about a few key themes that have emerged from today's discussion. Enterprise fixed wireless is not simply an alternative anymore. It is a strategic connectivity option in its own right. Modern fixed wireless does deliver dedicated, high performance, low latent connectivity with enterprise grade SLAs. It can be deployed faster, oftentimes, and more easily than traditional wired solutions, helping organizations accelerate turnups or business initiatives that they might have. And perhaps most importantly, what I heard is wireless provides true path diversity and resiliency built by design, which avoids many of the physical risks or single points of failure that might impact other fiber-based types of networks. So the strongest connectivity strategies aren't about choosing one or the other per se. Wireless is in the game, and they're about leveraging the strengths of both to build a more agile, resilient, and connected enterprise. So again, thank you for the audience, for your participation, for your questions, and for your engagement. Thank you again to our distinct experts here. Excellent conversation, great insights from that space. And we hope you've all enjoyed the webinar today, Enterprise Fixed Wireless, and understanding the differences between cellular and carrier-grade fixed wireless access. Thank you all very much, and have a great day. Cheers, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Trey. Thanks, team.
Thank you.